Hi, I'm Steven Bartlett, and welcome back to 100 CEOs. Today, I'm looking at Whitney Wolfe Herd, the visionary founder and former CEO of Bumble who revolutionized online relationships by putting women first. I've listened to countless hours of interviews, audited Whitney's highly recommended masterclass, and interviewed her to learn how she's not just built wealth along the way, but successfully pushed for new legislature, changed an online industry, and demonstrated that vulnerability can coexist with groundbreaking business leadership. This is 100 CEOs. And this is Whitney Wolfe Herd. It's February 2021. The Nasdaq screen glows yellow in New York's Times Square as Whitney Wolfe Herd, confidently holding her one-year-old son on her hip, rings the opening bell. At 31, she's just become the youngest female CEO to take a company public in America's history. As Bumble shares surge 63% above their IPO price, a $1.6 billion personal fortune materializes in a single day, crowning her the world's youngest self-made female billionaire. The image, a young mother leading a tech revolution while balancing her child, instantly becomes iconic. But this triumphant moment wasn't the beginning of Whitney's story. It was the culmination of a vision that began years earlier when she dared to ask a truly groundbreaking question at the time. What if women went first? By even daring to ask this, she wasn't just taking the first step towards building a revolutionary tech platform, she was challenging centuries of dating dynamics. In a world where tech founders are celebrated for their disruption, Whitney's story stands out because at just 24 years old, she managed to transform personal rejection and workplace trauma into a new platform that would change how an entire generation finds love. Picture this. It's 2014, and a young woman sits in her living room, tears streaming down her face as her phone lights up with harassing messages. She's just left her job at Tinder, a company she helped build from the ground up, after filing a sexual harassment lawsuit against her colleagues. The tech world has labeled her toxic, unemployable. Her name is dragged through the mud in Silicon Valley's boys' club. Most people would retreat, but Whitney Wolfe Herd built Bumble instead. "I've never been one to stay silent," she once said. "Ever since I was a young girl, I had to stand up for myself and learn to fight." And fight she did. The seeds of Whitney's entrepreneurial spirit were planted long before Bumble. As a college student at Southern Methodist University, while most of her peers were focused on exams and campus life, Whitney launched the Help Us project. She created bamboo tote bags to raise funds for areas devastated by the 2010 BP oil spill. The bags caught the eye of celebrities, and suddenly, this college student was running a nationally recognized charitable venture. But it was at Hatch Labs where her career trajectory would truly begin to take shape. There, she co-founded Tinder with Sean Rad, Jonathan Badeen, and Chris Golchinski in 2012. As vice president of marketing, it was Whitney who came up with the app's name. It was Whitney who spearheaded the marketing campaigns that transformed Tinder from an unknown startup into a cultural phenomenon. She targeted frats and sororities on college campuses, getting them to match with one another and throwing launch parties that made students feel like they'd be missing out if they weren't on the app. The strategy worked brilliantly, until it didn't. Her exit from Tinder came with a lawsuit and a settlement reported to be over $1 million, but more damaging than any financial loss was the blow to her reputation. The tech industry can be unforgiving, especially to women who speak up. Many would have left tech altogether, but Whitney saw an opportunity. What if a dating app existed that actually put women first? Where the power dynamics were reversed and women could match without being bombarded by unwanted messages? Where safety and respect weren't afterthoughts, but the foundation of the platform? The idea wasn't about women taking control, she once explained. It was about empowering everyone to engage more meaningfully. The growth was staggering. Within a year, Bumble had facilitated 15 million conversations and 80 million matches. By 2016, Whitney was already expanding beyond dating, launching Bumble BFF for friendships, followed by Bumble Biz for professional networking in 2017. Her vision was never just about romance. It was about fostering meaningful relationships across all aspects of life. By 2020, Bumble had grown to over 42 million registered users, generating nearly $417 million in revenue in just the first 9 months of that year. But the most historic milestone came in February 2021, when Whitney, at 31, became the youngest female CEO to take a company public. With the company valued at $8.6 billion, she also claimed the title of the world's youngest self-made female billionaire. The image of Whitney on the Nasdaq stage that day, holding her young son on her hip as she rang the opening bell, became an iconic symbol for working mothers everywhere. Here was a woman who didn't have to choose between family and career ambition. She was redefining what success looked like, not just for women in tech, but for everyone. In November 2023, Whitney announced she would step down as CEO, transitioning to executive chair. But in the ever-twisting story of her career, Bumble recently announced her return to the CEO position, following the resignation of her successor. Upon announcing her comeback, Whitney said, "As I step into the role of CEO, I'm energized and fully committed to Bumble's success, our mission of creating meaningful, equitable relationships, and our opportunity ahead." She returns to a changed landscape. Dating app engagement is declining. Revenue models are shifting. Gen Z is moving away from traditional dating platforms, and safety concerns are more prevalent than ever, with a 2023 survey showing that 52% of respondents had encountered scammers on dating apps, and 51% of women reported negative experiences. Whitney Wolfe Herd's journey, from college entrepreneur to dating app revolutionary to public company CEO, embodies resilience in its purest form. She didn't just survive in an industry that initially rejected her, she transformed it. She didn't just build a successful business, she created a movement that has changed how millions of people get to know each other. This is a story of unwavering resilience, innovation, and true commitment to a bigger mission that gets Whitney and her team up every morning. I've identified 10 fundamental principles that underpin Wolfe Herd's approach to life and business, principles that not only outline her remarkable achievements, but offer timeless lessons we can apply to our own journeys. More than a concept, each lesson is a window into how she thinks, acts, and inspires others as a leader. We'll explore these ideas through stories, personal anecdotes, and reflections from Whitney herself and those who know her best. Lesson 1. Redefine success on your terms. For generations, women have been raised with a powerful yet limiting narrative about success. Find someone successful rather than become that person yourself. It's a contradiction many face, being told they can achieve anything professionally, while simultaneously receiving the message that ultimate success comes through marriage to a high-achieving man. When Whitney and her team were brainstorming how to convey Bumble's purpose in a single sentence, they created what would become their most successful campaign ever. Be the CEO your parents always wanted you to marry. This went viral. It was our best-performing ad of all time, Whitney recalls. The message resonated because it pointed out something many had felt but couldn't articulate, that subtle pressure to achieve through association rather than direct accomplishment. Almost overnight, Bumble positioned itself not just as a dating app, but as a catalyst for social change. The message became a rallying cry for people reclaiming their narratives and defining success on their own terms. This approach doesn't diminish relationships. Instead, it elevates them by reframing them as partnerships between equals rather than hierarchical arrangements. It suggests that the most fulfilling connections come when two whole, self-actualized individuals choose to build something together, each bringing their own strengths and accomplishments to the table. But to redefine success on your terms, you'll need something absolutely crucial first. Lesson 2. Find your North Star. The core of what makes a business truly revolutionary is identifying your why and solving genuine problems. Whitney's journey with Bumble reveals something profound about entrepreneurship. Her why wasn't just about building another dating app. It was about addressing a fundamental imbalance in relationships that affected everything else in life. I'm a firm believer that if you don't have healthy relationships in your home, in your romantic life, in your friendships, it's impossible to live a fulfilling and healthy life, Whitney explains. She recognized that while women were being encouraged to be progressive and ambitious in their careers and finances, relationships remained their one realm of constraint. This insight became her North Star. As Whitney puts it, the why is where it starts. It's what connects you to the consumer. It's what keeps the entire team aligned. Her revelation came from observing her college friends, brilliant women pursuing double degrees who nonetheless believed texting a guy first was a cardinal sin. This social convention trapped both genders in harmful patterns. For women, it meant passively waiting to be chosen. For men, it created so much pressure and rejection that when combined with online anonymity, that rejection converts into hate and toxicity. The solution was elegantly simple. Women would make the first move. As Whitney explains, women are no longer chosen. They get to choose first, not just once a year, not just during Women's History Month or Sadie Hawkins Day, but every single time. This approach to business building is applicable everywhere. The brilliance of Whitney's approach is that the why remains constant while the execution evolves. Why at Bumble remains exactly as it was in 2014, to create a world where all relationships are healthy and equitable. This flexibility allows Bumble to grow while staying true to its core mission. For example, they've introduced compliments that let anyone bypass the matching stage to send a positive message, using AI technology to encourage better behavior. So ask yourself, what problem genuinely frustrates you? What feels broken in the world around you? That's not just your business opportunity, it's your mission. And remember Whitney's observation, a great big idea doesn't have to be complex. It can be so simple. It can be a small tweak that could have a seismic effect. Lesson 3. Build a brand with personality. In the tech world, one often overlooked element is building a brand with genuine personality and purpose. When Whitney launched Bumble, something puzzled her. I was always perplexed why these apps that were on everyone's phone, brands that mattered to people, had no marketing. While other tech products remained faceless utilities, Whitney saw an opportunity to create a lifestyle brand around a dating app. From day one, her vision was to make Bumble stand for something far beyond its functionality. When I started Bumble, and actually I did this at Tinder as well, I tried to create a lifestyle brand around the product because these products are very much part of your lifestyle. They shape how you build your life, find your friends, meet your partner, and navigate daily existence. Her advice is brilliantly simple. Start by writing the brand story. Who is your brand? Give it a personality. What time does it wake up? Where does it live? What clothes does it wear? Does it laugh until it cries? Is it stoic? Is it warm and fuzzy? This process of personification transcends traditional branding exercises. Whitney didn't just want a recognizable logo or consistent color scheme. She wanted Bumble to feel like someone you know, trust, and want to spend time with. This approach created an emotional connection beyond the app's utility, turning users into advocates. This branding philosophy extends to every aspect of communication. Take Bumble's now iconic yellow color. It wasn't random, it represented sunshine, kindness, joy, and happiness. When it's the gloomiest day and the biggest storm, guess what? It's always sunny on top, and that's what Bumble stands for, Whitney shares. Even the name Bumble became part of this personality, though it wasn't Whitney's first choice. The name Bumble was one I didn't want. It's a funny story. I was absolutely in love with the name Moxie. Because when someone has moxie, they have gall, they have grit, they're brave. When trademark issues prevented using Moxie, Whitney initially resisted Bumble because to Bumble meant you were fumbling and stumbling. Everything changed when someone suggested, wait a second, you could be you the queen, be a Bumble. Whitney recalls the creative explosion that followed. All of a sudden, my wheels started turning 1,000 miles an hour, and I started writing it out. I still have the original notes where it was, find your honey on Bumble, build your hive. It just started flowing, because this icon of the bee in the hive represents a kind society that spreads goodness and honey. Most importantly, every marketing effort aligned with their values. Whitney emphasizes, nothing was out of bounds, everything connected to our why. It was about spreading cheer, positivity, creativity, and making the first move. The lesson, don't just build a product, build a personality. Understand your customer deeply and become a companion in their day, not just another notification demanding attention. When you give your brand a soul, people don't just use it, they identify with it. Lesson 4. Know your community deeply. In the world of tech startups, growth metrics often reign supreme, but Whitney took a counterintuitive approach, focusing on meaningful connections rather than sheer numbers. I've always said to my team I would take 10 super relevant customers to each other, over 10 million that have nothing in common, she explains. This philosophy led Bumble to turn down opportunities that might have driven explosive but less meaningful growth, like being pre-installed on every phone from a mobile carrier. Whitney's insight was that true network effects come from genuine connections. It's the power of one person loves it, they tell another, then they tell another, and then they tell another. This approach builds loyalty that superficial growth can't match. Another aspect of this quality-focused mindset was Bumble's hyperlocal approach to marketing. Rather than using generic messaging, Whitney recognized that what works in one community might not resonate in another. In Mumbai, you might really want to go out on a first date to get that special dish, but in Salt Lake City, you might really want to go and get that snow cone in the summer. This lesson is particularly valuable in today's crowded digital landscape. Building a genuine community that loves your product creates advocates who spread your message organically. As Whitney emphasizes, do not cut corners on building community. Never take the hard, long road when it comes to building authentic, genuine, sticky community. Loyalty from your community and genuine love from the community matters so much more than scale in the beginning. Lesson 5. Lead vulnerably, innovate continuously. Let's explore something counterintuitive that Wolfe Herd has mastered, leading with vulnerability while constantly pushing innovation's boundaries. Whitney's approach to leadership breaks conventional wisdom. She believes you must lead with the same vulnerability, transparency, and expectation that you have of your customer and teammate. This isn't mere rhetoric. Whitney embodied this philosophy through her most challenging moments. I was a CEO when I had postpartum depression. I was a CEO when I was hospitalized and wasn't sure I would live with postpartum preeclampsia. By sharing these experiences, Whitney built strong bonds with her team and customers. She understood that vulnerability taps into what truly matters, the only way to lead genuinely. You have to meet people where you want them to meet your brand, your business, your product, because when you're vulnerable, you're yourself. You're connected to what really matters to you, what really drives you. This approach creates space for others to be authentic too, fostering a culture where people can bring their whole selves to work. But vulnerability isn't just about sharing struggles, it's about admitting when something isn't working and having the courage to change course. Whitney attributes Bumble's success to continuous innovation. I firmly believe this. If you want to be good, you just do what investors and customers say you should. But if you want to be great, you innovate. This continuous innovation requires questioning even your most cherished ideas. Whitney advises, what might have been your best idea 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 months ago? Stop and ask yourself, is this still working? Is this still relevant? Is this still what your customer wants and needs? She challenges entrepreneurs to set ego aside when ideas no longer serve the mission. You have to get out of your own way. You have to move past any ego or any, I love that idea, or, but it was my idea. You must move beyond it, accept it, adapt, and take it one step further to dream up new ideas. This mindset of constant evolution keeps Bumble ahead of competitors. Perhaps most brilliantly, she advises turning risks into superpowers. Define your risks and turn them into your superpowers. Put your risks on the wall. When 2 users falling in love and deleting Bumble could have been seen as a business threat, Whitney instead saw an opportunity. How could we get those 2 people to tell all their single friends about us, integrate us into their wedding, share us on their social media? How could we become a lasting part of their story? Bumble addressed this challenge by expanding their ecosystem beyond dating to include friendship, Bumble BFF, and professional networking, Bumble Biz, building lifetime value by keeping users engaged even after finding romantic partners. The message is clear. Embrace vulnerability as strength, question your ideas relentlessly, and view every challenge as potential innovation. That's how you stay ahead in a rapidly changing world. Lesson 6. Find true believers in your vision. I had such imposter syndrome, Whitney recalls about the early days of pitching Bumble. Here I was, pitching a dating app after I had just left a dating app. I was terrified people would think I was just trying to do a revenge product, not something genuinely innovative. As she shopped her concept around, she faced significant skepticism. When I would pitch investors, they would be immediately skeptical about whether women would actually want to make the first move. The people with the checkbooks were mostly men, and they had a very different perspective on dating. Her perseverance paid off when she connected with Andrei Andreev, the Badoo founder who saw her vision and didn't just fund her. He provided his tech team to build it quickly. His belief transformed her napkin sketches into a working app in months, proving the right backer can accelerate your vision dramatically. In these early meetings, Whitney discovered the importance of finding believers, people who didn't just see her idea as a product, but who truly understood and shared her vision for transforming how people relate to each other. And that search soon extended beyond investors to early team members as well. Whitney assembled a founding team who shared her passion for the mission, many of whom were women who had personally experienced the issues Bumble aimed to address. The challenges Bumble faced in its early days would have derailed a less committed team. What carried them through was a shared conviction that their mission mattered, that they weren't just building another dating app but transforming relationship dynamics. This lesson is particularly relevant for founders from underrepresented groups. When pitching concepts that challenge established systems, you'll face additional skepticism about whether problems you recognize are even real problems worth solving. Throughout her career, Whitney has demonstrated the importance of self-advocacy, particularly for women in male-dominated spaces. Her example shows how standing up for yourself and your vision becomes easier with practice. These early believers became crucial advocates who helped spread the word about Bumble's mission. They weren't just financial backers, they were partners in building a movement to change how relationships formed online. By 2021, when Bumble went public, many of those early believers who took a chance on Whitney's vision were rewarded not just financially, but by seeing their faith in her mission validated on a global scale. For founders facing rejection and doubt, Whitney's journey shows that you don't need everyone to believe in your vision, you just need the right people. Find those who can see the future you're working to create, and hold on to them as you build it together. Lesson 7. Cultivate unwavering self-belief. Whitney's journey wasn't just about creating a successful company, it was about overcoming her struggles with self-advocacy. Along the way, I have struggled with personal strife around advocating for myself, she admits. This personal experience directly shaped her mission at Bumble. I was in a very unhealthy romantic relationship in high school, and I didn't love myself enough to stand up for myself during that time. You wouldn't believe how much I just accepted because I'm a woman. This is all I'm deserving of. But deep down inside, I knew I was worth so much more, and I knew I could do so much more. Whitney recognized that her experience wasn't unique. The sad reality is that there's still significant implicit bias against women. Recent surveys suggest that in some parts of America, most respondents, women included, believe men are superior in many categories, or that men should do certain things while women shouldn't. This awareness became a driving force for both personal and business decisions. I think I've channeled everything I wish I'd been in high school into what I'm building at Bumble. I stand up for that high school version of myself every single day. It's a powerful reminder that our deepest insecurities can become the foundation for our greatest impact. Flexing that muscle of self-advocacy is a powerful skill to build. It's an excellent confidence builder and a great way to progress in your career. Whitney attributes her success not to extraordinary intelligence or skills, but to something we all possess: intuition. My biggest superpower isn't superior intelligence. I'm not smarter than anyone else. I don't have supernatural skills. What I do have is a deep commitment to listening to my intuition. When I feel something, I don't ignore it. I trust it. When I experience that gut-mind connection, that heart-brain connection, I pay attention. Her final advice? Dream the impossible, then start taking possible steps. Don't try to replicate someone else's success. Find your unique contribution, trust your instincts, and create your own playbook. That's the true path to innovation and fulfillment. Lesson 8. Identify white space in the market. One of Whitney's most valuable insights is recognizing overlooked opportunities that others have missed. In the dating app landscape, she discovered a critical white space. Women's needs were being overlooked in favor of monetizing men. Defining white space means finding an audience or a group of individuals or a sector of the population that is being overlooked, Whitney explains. When you know that someone wants something, but it doesn't exist for them, whether that means they're just accepting things that weren't designed for them, or they're actually doing their own hacks at home to tweak something because they couldn't buy it at the store. This is white space. When examining the dating app ecosystem of 2012, Whitney observed something profound. Dating apps had built their entire monetization strategy off of monetizing males. But what they failed to realize was there'd be nothing to monetize if women didn't come to the product. The result was an experience where women didn't feel safe or valued. They were seen merely as the supply in the equation. What these companies missed, and what Whitney recognized, was that if women weren't happy with the experience, eventually the entire model would collapse. This represented an uncharted, untapped opportunity, which was ridiculous to me at the time because women were 50% of the equation, and in fact more than 50% of the importance of the equation. The breakthrough came when Whitney asked, how do we actually engineer safety, kindness, better behavior, a kinder, more welcoming space from the baseline? This focus on creating a fundamentally better experience, not just for women but for everyone, led to Bumble's key innovation. The strategy is beautiful yet simple. In Whitney's words, "At Bumble, I looked at what women want, but more importantly, what they did not want. Figure out what they don't want, and then build what they do want from there." This extends far beyond the online dating industry. In any market, there are underserved audiences accepting products that weren't built for them. Instead of expecting consumers to communicate their wants and needs, create a solution in advance that's even superior to what they could have ever articulated. Lesson 9. Turn pain into creative fuel. Perhaps the most inspiring aspect of Whitney's story is how Bumble emerged from her most difficult experiences. After leaving Tinder amid a public breakup and facing relentless online harassment, Whitney hit rock bottom, a moment that would ultimately spark her greatest innovation. "I was getting every threat you can imagine," she recalls of that dark period. "I remember it vividly. I was actually crying on a bath mat, feeling like, I cannot do this anymore. I don't know how to go forward. I feel alone." Yet in that moment of despair, a realization struck her. If I feel this way, there's a 13-year-old girl probably down the street and millions more of them that are getting bullied on their phones right now. This empathy became the cornerstone of Bumble's mission, to create a safer, kinder digital space for connection. Whitney's story reveals a profound truth. Our deepest pain often holds the seeds of our greatest contributions. If I had not been treated the way I was treated online, I would have never had that deep pain surrounding online toxicity and abuse, and I would have never been inspired to go and try to fix it. And without that, there would be no Bumble today, she reflects. Her personal struggle didn't just lead to healing, it ignited a revolution. Whitney's story dares you to see those struggles not as burdens, but as invitations to innovate, to create, to lead. Your darkest moment might be the spark the world needs. Like Whitney, you have the power to alchemize your pain into purpose. So what's your Bumble? What will you build from the ashes of what broke you? The answer lies in the challenges you've lived and the change only you can bring. Lesson 10. Create your own playbook. The final and perhaps most empowering lesson from Whitney Wolfe Herd is that true innovation requires the courage to write your own playbook. This isn't just about being different for the sake of it, it's about recognizing that breakthrough solutions often require breaking free from conventional wisdom. "I didn't follow someone else's playbook, I made my own," Whitney declares. This independent thinking wasn't just a philosophical stance, it was a practical necessity. "I didn't read any business books before starting Bumble, and yet I was able to use my instinct, my passion, my conviction in the mission, my deep care and loyalty to the customer to really operate instinctively and intuitively." This approach might seem counterintuitive in an age where entrepreneurial wisdom is readily available through countless books, courses, and mentorship programs. However, Whitney's success demonstrates that sometimes the most valuable insights come from trusting your unique perspective and experiences. This doesn't mean ignoring wisdom from others. Whitney certainly had mentors and inspiration, but she didn't try to replicate existing models. Instead, she trusted her understanding of the problem she was solving and her vision for how to solve it. Her advice for aspiring entrepreneurs and leaders reflects this philosophy. "I don't want you to try and do the quote-unquote Whitney way. I want you to do it your way. I want you to listen to your own instinct, your own gut reactions, your own brilliant ideas." True innovation doesn't come from following established paths, but from having the courage to chart new ones based on your unique insights, experiences, and vision. Whitney's journey from someone crying on a bath mat to the youngest woman to take a company public demonstrates that when you write your own playbook, there's no limit to what you can achieve. It's a testament to the power of authentic leadership and the importance of staying true to your own vision, even when it means taking the road less traveled. Like many great innovators before her, Whitney herself would tell you that real impact likely won't come copying her success, but in discovering your own authentic voice. It's not about being like her, like him, like them, she says. It's about being like you. Next week, we'll dive into the extraordinary journey of a man who transformed the world of entrepreneurship, from revolutionizing the music industry to launching the first commercial space tourism company. We'll be talking about none other than Richard Branson, the man who's built an empire on defying the odds and embracing adventure at every turn. If you found this episode valuable, please do us a favor and hit that follow button on your podcast app. Every week, we're going to dive deep into the lives of the world's most successful people, distilling the 10 core principles that define their success, so you don't have to. Until then, this is 100 CEOs, and that was Whitney Wolfe Herd.